Welcome to this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast. I'm your host, Ril Dil Quinn. Recording this on a Thursday, the last day of August. Summer is basically over. Probably officially over for just about everyone after the Labor Day weekend, after come Monday, come Tuesday and Wednesday, when probably everybody will be back in school. So looking forward to the weekend. Episode 907 of the Ril Dil podcast. This is a big episode for our podcast. Just with roughly about 2 weeks away from our 16th anniversary podcast, season 16. Well, roughly a week away. I will announce that date probably sometime this weekend when we'll do the anniversary of year 16 of the Ril Dil podcast. We have a big football show for you. College football is back. Last week, I don't even count. I could care less about week zero of the college football season. This is the real weekend. First weekend of college football. You have some big games, headlined, of course, from Florida State, LSU, which we'll talk about. But today, I want to look at some defining storylines and questions about college football. And number one, can Georgia repeat? We are in the Georgia Bulldog era. Make no mistake about it. You win back-to-back championships. You are big time. You are historic. They right now are a well-oiled machine. They are a dynasty, and doing it in the SEC makes it that much more impressive. They have a coach that you will never hear complain about the NIL, about the transfer portal, and all that stuff. So Kirby Smart right now is running a tight ship. They have the great players, and the scary part is they have done it without a dominant quarterback. They go into me as a favorite to win it again. You're talking about if they are the three-peat, they won a three-peat. No one has three-peated going back to the 1930s. Like, you're talking Minnesota from 34 to 36, and who the hell remembers that? So that is the number one story question. Can they three-peat? Again, SEC is always tough. You gotta win multiple games to the college playoff. So it is harder to win a championship now than it's ever been before. Now, there is more room for error. You can lose one game or maybe even two games and get to the playoffs. But to complete the whole championship journey, like, you can talk about possibly have to go through Alabama, LSU. It's still the SEC, but until someone beats them, they are the favorites. They have right now the best coach, and they are absolutely the best program in college football. The number two story to me, Deion Sanders. And they are, in all of my years of watching college football, I have never seen a coach come in with this much hype and with this much the amount of energy people are putting towards Deion Sanders, the amount of bravado Deion Sanders has and has always had. And you can say what you want about him, he is absolutely a disruptor. When you have other coaches coming at you, before your team has even taken the field, you are disrupting. Yeah, you are disrupting. You are a disruptor without question. And people are pissed at Deion. Deion Sanders has, they have one of the top transfer portal in terms of the transfer portal rankings. They are up there. They are number one as far as the transfer portal rankings. That was one of the coaches who criticized Deion Sanders. Was criticizing for him that was one of the reasons why one of the coaches was criticizing Deion Sanders because of his use for transfer portal. And the bottom line is Deion Sanders knows how to market the program. He knows how to sell the program. And I just don't. I can't see a situation where where this program, where Colorado is not contending, is not an 8 to 9 win team. I can't see Deion Sanders failing. Like I'm not saying that Colorado is going to be up here a national championship contender or even win the Pac-12. I mean, you got USC, TCU. They start off on Saturday against TCU, so that's their first major test. TCU is ranked in the top 25. They have a tough schedule. having to face the likes of USC and Utah and what have you. But I'm not betting against Deion Sanders. I'm just not. He has completely shifted, changed the culture of that program in terms of how many people he's gotten rid of, bringing in his own. If he's going to go down, he's going to go down his own way. And again, it is one. I've never seen this much hype for a coach. For a coach, and that wasn't coaching at like a Alabama or Ohio State or somebody, a program like that. Colorado, now again, Colorado has had a history of winning in the past. Bill McCartney won a national championship. Rick Neuheisel did an excellent job during his tenure there. So you can win at Colorado. It's been proven. It's been done before. So it's not like, they're in the Pac-12. They're, Power 5 team. I think Deion Sanders is going to turn that program around. And I think, it's going to be, sooner than later. Because I don't think they'll be a national championship contender right now. But I don't see Deion Sanders failing, to be honest with you. And, again, he gives zero fucks about what you think about him. He's going to do it his way. And he's going to, again, he's taking advantage of all the necessary, he's a part of this new shift of college football that I'm very curious to watch moving forward in terms of the NIL. You have 17 players this season that will be making whose NIL value will be over $1 million. And you've already heard coaches Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin. You already heard the coaches in college football complain the NIL is too much. These players is bad. The college portal, transfer portal is bad for college football. So there's a shift right now to where if you want to win at a high level in college football, you're going to have to move forward with where the game is going with the NIL and with the transfer portal. And be consistent and be consistent with those two using those two resources of college football. Those two things are a part of college football, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And frankly, I'm all for it. The ideal that these guys were not getting paid. And it was, we've talked about this before on the podcast and even general conversations. College football or college basketball is the biggest hypocrisy, and it's not all the sports. It was the biggest hypocrisy maybe in society. The idea of these guys not being paid while coaches and universities make millions and millions off them. Now it's the players' turn. They're getting paid. And let's keep in mind, to get a NIL deal, you have to be exceptional. Average players are not getting NIL deals. You have to be like an Angel Reese. You have to be a Bronny James. Yeah, you have to be exceptional. High school All-American, a college football or a pro prospect. Average players are not getting these deals. They're not. Most of the guys that have these deals will be drafted. Period. In most sports, most of the guys that have these deals in college football will absolutely be drafted. So this is where college football is at right now. Again, it's going to be very interesting to see which universities fall by the wayside. Because again, there are going to be some coaches that just do it their way. They're going to just do it their way, and they're not going to be able to adjust to the times. That's just that's just the way it is. Bobby Knight couldn't do it. And now he had already won his championships and had at the time was the all-time leading winningest coach in college basketball when he retired. But he could not form into the new, this new age player. It just wasn't going to happen. Some guys can't do it. Like a lot of these, a lot of the old guard cannot do it. But you have, again, the Deion Sanders of the world, Kirby Smarts. There are guys that are going to be out there going to have their foot on top of all this, because you have no choice. If you're a college football coach, you have to use the transfer portal. You're going to have players who are going to be, in essence, millionaires on your football team. That's just the way it is right now. And it's only going to get bigger as these guys come out of high school with more hype and more attention than ever with the social media following, with these deals. So this isn't going anywhere. And if you're a college football coach and you cannot adjust to it, then you are frankly a dinosaur, and your program would not have sustained success over a period of time. Speaking of sustained success, Alabama comes into this year on the cusp of one of his longest championship droughts. Now, Alabama has won a championship. A drought in Alabama without winning a championship is like 1 year. They've gone 2 years without winning this championship, without winning a national championship. Nick Saban, the longest that Alabama has gone without winning a national championship in the Nick Saban era has been 3 years. One was from 2017 to 2020. That's current, and one was from 2012 to not 20. Excuse me. One was from the current one, 2017 to 2020. Then he had one from because 2012 they after they won the championship in 2012. Then he had one from the 2013 season. He went back to back years, 2013, 2014. They didn't win a championship, and then they won it in that 2015 season. So they've never gone 3 full seasons without winning a national championship. That's how dominant they've been. Like, so again, the Alabama, Nick Saban's legacy is like it's signed, sealed, and delivered. It's not even a matter of legacy. The question is, can Nick Saban adapt to this new era? Now, he's still getting the top recruits, but again, he's not a fan of NIL, and he's not a big fan of the transfer portal. And this is the first time in a long time that they don't have a defined quarterback. You look at the last 5 Alabama quarterbacks: Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts. Those are guys who are either Heisman Trophy winners or first-round draft picks. So they come into this year with some quarterback questions. He hasn't, to my knowledge, has yet to announce a starting quarterback. Doesn't want to be a distraction, and so on and so on. But normally Alabama is like, had become like basically quarterback with first round picks, all Americans, got the best of the best coming out of high school, as high school all Americans. That's not the case this year. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do at quarterback, and extremely interesting to see can Nick Saban, will Nick Saban conform to this new way of running a program in college football. So, again, it should be a great season. Again, Georgia deserves to be the favorite. They are the favorite, but we know how wild the college football season will be. I wouldn't even pay attention to the top 5 to the rankings right now. Preseason rankings, to me, absolutely nothing. You'll see so many different changes, surprises, and what have you over the course of this season. We're going to talk more about the game of the week in college football in regards to Florida State and LSU later on in the program. So the deep dive for the Ril Dil podcast, a story that frankly, if Giannis was American, I think would be the biggest story in sports. Giannis Antetokounmpo basically said, and I'll give you the quote, "At the end of the day, I feel like my teammates know and the organization knows that I want to win a championship or another championship. He has one already." He told the Times, "As long as we're on the same page with that, and you show me, and we go together to win a championship, I'm all for it. The moment I feel like, oh, yeah, we're trying to rebuild, there will never be hard feelings with Milwaukee." So Giannis has not signed it, basically saying he's not going to sign an extension or not rush to sign the extension. Now, he will be extension eligible September 22nd. He could sign a 3-year, $173 million extension. He has 2 years left on his contract. Roughly 2 years left on his contract before he can exercise a player option in 2025. So the clock is ticking now for Milwaukee to build a team or to add to their team to convince Giannis to sign the extension before he becomes an outright free agent in 2025. I don't think Giannis is going to sign an extension. I don't see what Milwaukee frankly can do. They have a lot of old players. They don't have really any tradable assets, any serious tradable assets. I mean, Chris Middleton signed. He's not a big-time asset at his age and with his injury history of late. They're not going to move Drew Holiday. So they are in win now. They are the epitome of a win now team. And this is one of the biggest, like this, there's as much pressure on them as a franchise to win than any team in the league right now. And frankly, they could actually win a championship and Giannis still not sign an extension. So Giannis is thinking long term here. Here's a guy who's 28 years old. He's one of the top 2 players in the league. I was looking at some teams that could possibly be in the mix. Now, again, you hear the normal Lakers, Knicks. Sure. First of all, 98% of the league will be in the mix for Giannis if he doesn't sign the extension and becomes a free agent in 2025. Okay, let's forget about just the Lakers and Knicks. And they're not that many teams with cap space, but we know how teams can get front offices can get creative with trading guys and moving guys along to create cap space to get Giannis and what have you. The team that should scare the league, okay, and I looked this up, is the San Antonio Spurs. In 2 years, the San Antonio Spurs are projected to have $59 million of cap space when Giannis, if Giannis becomes a free agent at that time and declines the player option for that upcoming season, becomes a free agent in 2025. That is when you talk about perfect situation with Greg Popovich and then Victor Wembanyama and some of the young talent that they have. I mean, like that is the ideal situation for Giannis to go to. Giannis is not about LA, Miami. He's not a big New York City. He doesn't care about that. San Antonio, like Milwaukee, mid-market, solid franchises as far as their ownership and front office. And, great fan base, excellent fan base. And San Antonio, we know what San Antonio is as far as their traditional winning. That is the team that, if I'm the rest of the NBA, that would scare the daylights out of me for him going to. And would be a perfect place. I mean, there's no bad place. There are a couple of places that Giannis, you can eliminate about 15 teams that Giannis is not going to go to because they're just horrible franchises. That franchise would be primed and poised to get a Giannis. And like I said, this story is like, to me, even Giannis not being an American, this story it should be bigger. Like this guy is arguably the best player in the world, at worst the second best player behind Jokic, and he is going he's probably not going to sign an extension with a team that he won the championship with. It'll be 3 years ago. So this is absolutely, for a guy again who is in his prime. He is going to be on his next birthday. He'll be 28 years old. He is still absolutely in his prime, and can absolutely get better. So right now, if you're a team, right now you should be getting your stuff ready, your ducks in order to try to make a run at Giannis. If you're a team around the NBA, like now, teams are trying to go or making moves or thinking 2 years ahead in order to make a move possibly to go after him. If you're not, you're just dumb. So again, because I would love it as a Laker fan if he ended up with the Lakers, of course, but I just don't see it with the Lakers. I don't see it with the Knicks. I don't see him. I don't think Giannis goes, if he doesn't end up staying with Milwaukee, I don't think Giannis goes to a big major market, a big city like that. I just don't think he's that type of player like that. I don't think he cares about that. He doesn't care about branding. He doesn't care about social media. I mean, he has a social media page. He's on Twitter. He's on Instagram, but he doesn't care about that stuff. That's just not who he is. The guy just flat out wants to win. So Milwaukee absolutely is on the clock. Watch out for the San Antonio Spurs. Getting back to some college football, the game of the week without question, Florida State, LSU. These are two of the top. Florida LSU is ranked 5th. Florida State comes in at 8th. Both are coming off excellent years, 10-win seasons. They both have Heisman Trophy candidates: Jaden Daniels at the quarterback of LSU, Jordan Travis, quarterback of Florida State. Both programs, of course, with championship pedigree. Florida State hasn't won a championship in a decade. LSU won a championship, of course, with Joe Burrow about 4 years ago now. So these are programs. This could be a season-defining game for one of these programs. This game could absolutely catapult the winner to a playoff, possibly being in a championship mix. Now, I don't think these teams are at the level. I don't think either one of these teams can win a national championship per se. I don't think they're quite there yet. I think they could be challenged for the playoffs. Maybe LSU is a little further ahead than Florida State, maybe because their fall off. Like Florida State a couple years ago was unwatchable. Like I literally unwatchable for when once Jimbo Fisher left, they hit rock bottom. And Mike Norvell has done a tremendous job of rebuilding that program back. They're exciting again with the offense. He's brought it back to not only respectability, but he's brought they have a top 10 ranking for the first time in these 7 years. So they're not quite where LSU is at. LSU last year, of course, won the SEC West, beat Alabama, and unfortunately lost their quarterback when they lost their quarterback in the SEC championship and ended up getting pummeled by Georgia. I think 50-30. That again, I don't think they would have beat Georgia if their quarterback doesn't get hurt, but it would have been a much more competitive game. So I think LSU is a little further ahead. If you remember last year, these two teams played a wild game that I believe was on Labor Day weekend, if not the week after. I think it was Labor Day weekend. Wild game where a missed extra point decided the game. It was a blocked extra point that decided the game, and Florida State won, I think, 24-23. So a little bit, some revenge. LSU is seeking revenge heading into this game. Again, this is clearly the best game of the week. And again, the loser will not be out the championship mix, especially a non-conference game, especially, we're talking first week in September. Loser's not going to be out the mix, but the winner definitely could catapult the winner to a playoff berth in the college football playoff. So great game to watch. Again, college football this year, there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of things to watch for college football. I forgot to mention Caleb Williams as a possible number 1 pick in the NFL draft from USC. He's going to be somebody to watch as far as, and you're going to see a lot of NFL teams. You're going to see a number of NFL teams tanking for sure to try to land his services. He's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and will absolutely, unless injury withstanding, will be the number 1 player picked in the 2024 NFL draft. NFL 3 questions. We continue 3 questions on each division. We are now shifting to the NFC East. Will there be a repeat champion for the first time in 19 years? The Philadelphia Eagles were the last repeat champion in this division from 2001 to 2004. Of course, that was Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb, and they went to the 4 straight NFC championships, going to the Super Bowl. Of course, 2004, and losing to the Patriots. Think about that. So from 2005 on, there has not been a repeat winner in the NFC East, and a lot of that has been due to just pure mediocrity. The NFC East, for the most part, has been just an all god awful division. Now, during that time, Philadelphia did, they've had some Super Bowl winners, Giants twice, 07 and 2011. And recently, Philadelphia in 2017. Of course, they were the Super Bowl runner-up last year, just barely coming up short against the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, I have a hard time seeing anyone be able to in this division be able to deal with Philadelphia. They have, without question, the best quarterback in the division. They have the best offensive line in the division. They are the most well balanced team in the division coming in. They last year had a top 10 offense and defense in scoring. They had a top 3 offense and defense in yardage, 16-4. Now everybody says everything went right. They didn't have that catastrophic injury. Jalen Hurts played like an MVP. He finished second behind Patrick Mahomes, and they had a come in. The over and under was at 11.5, which is of course high, which it should be. A lot of things went right for Philadelphia, but again, the division is just not is still not very good. Like the division is just not like that. Division just doesn't scare anybody. That division should be. I don't think it'll be bad this year. Like I can see Washington and the Giants being somewhat improved. The Cowboys, I just don't know about the Cowboys. The Cowboys can go. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys were 11-6. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys were 8-9. I really don't have it. I don't have a good feel for the Cowboys. I don't. We'll talk about the Cowboys coming with the second question, but this is Philadelphia's division to lose. I see Philadelphia. You know, they won't be 14-3, but 12-5. 12-5, 13-4. I mean, 12-5, 11-6. I think they're a 12-win team. I think I believe in this Philadelphia team. They built their team. They know they have an identity. They built their team. They run the football. They have, again, dominant offensive line, dominant defensive line, again, a plethora of pass rushers. I don't see Philadelphia falling back to a point to where they have an off year with the kind of roster that they still have, with the kind of talent that they still have. Now, again, they still have, Jalen Hurts got the big contract over the summer, but remember, the first year of that contract doesn't really affect their salary cap. It's next year in terms of that contract where that will start to, they'll have to start to move some people and lose some key guys because of how much money they're paying him. Question 2, will Dak Prescott finish the season as a Cowboys starting quarterback? And those in San Francisco might be laughing at this question, watching what transpired with Trey Lance. Barely got on the field over the course of his career. Was probably one of the worst draft busts in recent memory, considering what San Francisco had to give up to get him. But the bottom line is this: the clock is ticking on Dak Prescott. You don't trade for a quarterback and who's going to be your number 2 quarterback, and it's Jerry Jones. You don't make this type of move and have total confidence in your starting quarterback. You just don't. Now, again, this was, to me, I looked at this move. I was like, I loved it because I root for the Commanders. And if you're in the NFC East, you should love this move because Trey Lance clearly just can't play. And he has been able to stay on the field. So sure, if Trey Lance is on the field, great. I'm good if Trey Lance is on the field and I'm in this, and I'm a fan of another team in this division. I have no faith in Trey Lance whatsoever. This is a classic Jerry Jones move, giving up a 4th round pick, which you can get some quality depth at another position for a 4th round pick. But if you think that Trey Lance is your guy, if let's say Dak gets hurt, I'm sorry, Trey's not the guy. I'm just not. And I think in the back of Jerry Jones's mind that he really believes that Trey Lance can compete with Dak Prescott eventually to be that starting quarterback. I could see a scenario where Dak struggles and Trey Lance all of a sudden week 4, week 5 is the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback. I can see it. I can see Jerry. Jerry's not getting any younger. Jerry wants to win a Super Bowl. Desperately, he's never going to win another Super Bowl because as long as he has the type of control that he has over the team as a general manager, not only the owner, but as a general manager and president, what have you, we know that. They have a lot of talent, especially on defense. The offensive line is not what it once was. The running game is okay. The weapon, they don't have a ton of weapons on offense, and Dak Prescott is just in the class of, very good, not great, very good. He's not Dak Prescott is not going to elevate your football team. So this move is, to me, it was if I were a Cowboy fan, I would be really nervous. This move would make me nervous about my quarterback's confidence and about the play. I mean, he's already doing, he already has the interception bug in his head. He came out and said, what did he say? I won't throw 10 interceptions this year. He already in the preseason. I lost track. He already had 3 in the preseason. Maybe he hasn't thrown any since, but he was throwing interceptions left and right in training camp or at mini camps. So that was already in his head. And signing Trey Lance, I can't help but to think that's not going to have an effect on Dak Prescott. He was a human being after all. He's human. Now, he's overcome a lot. Again, he was not a ballyhoo quarterback coming out of college. took advantage of Tony Romo getting hurt, became the starting quarterback, had some good years, overcame a major injury. Well, I think it was a broken ankle, leg a couple years back. Came back. So we've seen him manage adversity over the course of his career, going back to college. But this is kind of like some psychological adversity. This is a different type of adversity when your owner doesn't believe in you. That's in essence, Jerry Jones does not believe in Dak Prescott. Let's just keep it a buck. So I'm looking forward to it. The Cowboys are always entertaining because their fan base, they always, the high hopes, and then you get their heart broken year after year. They'll get off to a quick start and then, fade away in November and December. And then, be talking about 2024. But I would not be surprised if Dak Prescott does not finish the season as a starting quarterback. The Eric Bieniemy impact on the Commanders. This is a big year for Eric Bieniemy. This franchise is in transition. They have new ownership. They're trying to change the culture and get the stink of the Daniel Snyder era off. They're trying to get it, with a new stadium. They don't have a new stadium, but there are a lot of moving pieces with this franchise. Eric Bieniemy will have, for the most part, basically control of this offense. He was never going to call plays in Kansas City, and he never was going to get his just credit as long as Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are on that team or with that franchise. It's just that simple. The two reasons why people think Kansas City wins are winning are Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And I don't care how many nice things Andy Reid said about Eric Bieniemy, he had to make a move like this in order to have any chance of becoming a head coach in this league. If he is able to turn around this offense with Sam Howell at quarterback. Now, again, they have some weapons on offense. The offensive line, I still have question marks about the offensive line, but they have weapons on offense with the receivers and at the running and at the skill positions. I like the attitude of Eric Bieniemy. I like to take a no shit, no nonsense. This team, this franchise needs a kick in the ass. They don't need a pat on the back. Period. So this is a big year for Eric Bieniemy if he wants to be a head coach in the NFL. If he has any chance of being a head coach in the NFL, the Commanders will have to be in the playoff hunt, and this offense will have to show significant improvement over the course of this 2023 of the 23 season. That's all there is to it. Again, he has enough. They have weapons. Ron Rivera, I think, will somewhat give him the keys to the car. From that standpoint. So he has a lot. So I think he will have an opportunity to prove himself as a excellent offensive mind and not just a guy who yells at running backs. Which, by the way, I don't mind. I'm not knocking for that, but that's kind of with the reputation that he has in the league. Unfortunately, by some. As this overly aggressive, intense coach who was only successful because he had Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So those are your three questions in the NFC East. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles will win this division relatively, I think, easily. I really don't have extreme confidence or faith in any of these other teams. Again, all these teams are so. The thing that separates Philadelphia, they have a legit franchise quarterback. These rest of these teams don't. I think Daniel Jones, Sam Howell, and Dak Prescott are a couple notches below Jalen Hurts. So that is, to me, the ultimate separator when I start looking at a team that can win a division and a team that could possibly get challenged for a Super Bowl championship. Some real thoughts before I let you go. So the term world champion has been in the sporting news over the past week or so. So I don't knock the sprinter Noah Lyles for the side. No, so Noah Lyles basically said, who's a world champion sprinter, made this quote, what hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA finals and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States. So he took a lot of flack, so on and so on. I didn't even, that was like, we know that's some bullshit, whatever. Like He's young. He's feeling himself. He just had the most significant moment of his athletic career. He could be. He's a world-class sprinter. He's a world champion. Guys from various sports always put their sport, individual team sport, on a pedestal versus in comparisons to other player athlete sports. It's been happening since the beginning of time. I frankly didn't. I was like, okay, he's defending his sport. The quote that bothered me about the world champion phrase term was from Greg Popovich. And here's the Greg Popovich quote. It doesn't make sense for an NBA team to call themselves world champions. I don't remember anybody playing anybody outside our borders to get that tag. Isn't that true? I keep waiting for somebody to tell me I've missed something. Greg, you missed a lot of things. First of all, this is a guy. I love Greg Popovich as a coach. He's I think, pound for pound, the greatest coach in NBA history. One of the greatest coaches in the history of sports. He's that great as a coach and has been great for a substantial for a long time, like 25 years now. You won championships, world championships, on the backs of European players. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, like no one in the NBA has used European players as far as roster building and construction, as well as the San Antonio Spurs. Basketball, the NBA is a global sport. It became that during the '92 Olympics with the Dream Team. The best players in the NBA are all right now top 5 players. 4 of the top 5 players are all European. Yeah, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, Luka, like literally the best outside of Steph Curry. The 4 of the 5 top best players in the league are from Europe, are non-Americans. It is a world sport. The best team that wins the NBA championship is the best team in the world. What am I missing? This is when you know it's time for football to start. When these conversations are happening in the summertime, you know it happens in like July when it's like a dead period in sports, when there's nothing to talk about or nothing going on unless somebody goes out there and does something stupid with a DUI or, God forbid, domestic violence, just catastrophically just stupid and crazy. But I would not expect a Greg Popovich to knock his own sport and knock himself and his own organization. Like, it was that shit was wild to me hearing that. Like, the sprinter, okay, he's pumping his own sport in. Is getting him more likes and followers on the in the social media atmosphere. But I really was surprised by Greg Popovich. I was. Ben Simmons comes out earlier this week with a tweet. And here's a tweet. I don't intend to come back the same player I was last season because that's not even close to where I am. I get excited because I'm like, damn, I was shit on that player I was last year. Boy, oh, Ben. Listen, I'm all for the power of belief in oneself, the power of positive thinking, power in yes, I can, the power in I am somebody, I can do, I'm all for believing, I'm all for just self-empowerment and positive thinking. Really, it's really at this stage of my life, I'm all in on words matter and thoughts matter, and you got to manifest success. Trust me, I'm 10 toes down from that standpoint. If you're a Ben Simmons, right, you've only played in 100 of your last 246 games possible, right? You missed the entire 21-22 season. No one, at this point, it's 2023, no one wants to hear what you're going to do. No one wants to hear any predictions. Like, this is when you need, he clearly lacks self-awareness, but you need great people and true, real friends around you. Like, somebody should have told Ben, yo, just do the work. Just look, you don't have to say nothing to nobody. You don't gotta make no predictions. We see you in the gym. We see your hard work. They'll see you in October, November, and leave it at that. Like, you need those type of people in your life to say, this is a bad idea. Like, why? Instead, Ben Simmons has got the type of people who probably were saying, like, yeah, Ben, you're going to tell me you're going to win MVP, Ben. What about defensive player of the year? Oh, that's right. You already should have won 3 or 4 of those. Forget about that. Those are the type of dudes he has in his life, or the type of people he has in his life. He has a bunch of yes people who fill his head with this bullshit, and it clouds, it removes any sense of, like, accountability or self-awareness. He has 0 in those 2 categories. 0. Here's the 3-step process for Ben Simmons. Step one, stay on the court. Step 2, take shots outside the paint. Step 3, I said get to the free throw line, but you know what? Step 3 is stay off social media. That should be step 3. That should be step 3. No one at this point is taking Ben Simmons seriously. No, anything Ben Simmons says seriously. Like, no one. Ben Simmons right now has gone from a All-NBA caliber player, defensive player of the year caliber player, to one of the worst contracts literally in the NBA. That contract is literally one of the worst contracts in the league right now. Period. There's no even discussion. It is. So, again, this is why you need quality people in your life. I don't care how talented you are, I don't care how smart you are. You need great people around you to balance you, to keep your head on straight. Like, you just need those people, and when you don't have them, you have the situations situations like a Ben Simmons. Well, I could think of countless other situations with athletes or entertainers or what have you. So, we'll see what happens with Ben Simmons. It's hard to root for Ben Simmons, but with the lack of accountability, his attitude, it's impossible to root for. He's very hard to root for. Almost borderline in being impossible to root for. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast. Again, this is a big weekend for our podcast because we'll have, of course, the Snowfall, the season 2, episode 2 of Snowfall. We'll put that out, and we will have a special back to school podcast from one of the best episodes of television in history, from the greatest show in the history of television. So if you I'll just give you a couple of hints. You don't know what it is, then we'll have to just stay tuned. So those 2 podcasts will be coming this weekend. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Enjoy your summer. Hit the beach. I'm out.